My name is Stephen James. I am the owner of a company called Canadian Skilled Truckers. Okay, it was Alliance, but we're going to change it to accreditation. The CSTA 2025 is our logo. The HPS 26, I'll get into that very shortly. What I'm going to do is I'm going to record this, and then what I'm going to do is I am going to put it through DaVinci Resolve and edit it and put it all to a point where it's forever on YouTube and I'll put it out there, period. So basically, what we've done is my company, which is Canadian Skilled Truckers Accreditation, is what we're going to call it. It's just me at this point and AI. Okay. And yeah, I include AI. And the reason I put AI is because they're quick and it's efficient. Now, I know that everybody says that, AI, it's kind of taken away from it. I agree with you. I'm not going to argue with that fact. But here's the point, is that AI is quick, and AI will give you the information. You can fact check it all you want, okay? And if you know where to go, you can find out just how true it is. Like I come out to AI and talk about the Highway Traffic Act, and within a second or two, it'll give me all the information that I want. So if you ask it stupid questions, then yeah, you're probably going to get a really ludicrous kind of an answer. But if you sit there and talk to it, I think AI is the next step in the development of a company. Like right now, you look at this room, and this is an old bedroom, and like some picture of my father-in-law and my mother-in-law. My wife is British. I got a lot of books that are sitting all right there pertaining to the Great Lakes, and I got the Canadian flag in there. That little guy right there, that's Jake. I just lost him about 3 years ago last week. And the point is that you have to have some place to start. All right, we're not spoon-fed or bugger all. We're starting from the rock bottom as you can get. I mean, I got a heart attack, which took me out of truck driving. Okay, if you were to take a look at my license, and I don't know whether or not you can see that. Okay, there's oh, you can't see it. But anyway, trust me when I tell you. Okay, number one, I believe in that, and that is my expiration date was 2029-0425, which is my birthday. All right, and I just got this sent on in. Unbelievable. I just realized it. I got this license again in 12/12/2024. That was about 13 days before I had a heart attack. And ended my career. Let's put it that way. So in January of 2026, DOT or MTO, sorry, MTO in Canadian, it's Z, not Z. They regulated my license down to a D or to a G license. So effectively, they put me out of work, I guess, in a lot of ways. But then the company I was working for, they sort of did a bad thing. So it wasn't, that's what kind of got me thinking about the trucking industry in general, and why I began this company. That company that I was working for, when they messed me around, that's the one thing you got to remember is that, I've now got Kornblum Law to help me out. I can say their name, but I cannot use their logo because I do not have their permission to do so. And that's the whole thing about being here. This here's my logo, and nobody's going to use it. Down below, when I get this all sorted, it will have my copyright and my trademark in there, as well as a disclaimer and all kinds of stuff. So it'll all be there very shortly and legitimate. In Canada and Ontario, which is where we're headquartered, we have what is called copyright. So you put pen to paper, and then you turn around and you put an idea. If it's a legitimate idea, then you get what is called copyright rights to that idea. The Canadian IPO, the CIPO, have a bit of an issue right now. So there's some areas that you can get, but that's kind of the whole idea behind this YouTube video together, is because I'm putting a stamp on it. I'm sitting there saying that this HPS-26, which is Helix Progression Standard, is mine and mine alone. It's an intellectual property, belongs to me, and I worked on it and I created it. So it's 50 years of my career that I put down on paper with the help of AI, and I've also spent 2,500, 2,600 hours developing HP26. So it's HPS 26. It's not something that is just pulled out of random air. This is something that I've developed from experience. And being a truck driver, this to me is important, because when I finally sat down and got to smell the coffee sort of deal, it gave me the opportunity to take a look at trucking and say, well, why have we got this and why have we got that? And why is it like this and why is it like that? When I remember getting into it, it was like the cat's meow. I mean, it was in the top 10 best careers to get into. And when I left the industry, when I left the driving part of it, I'm not out of the industry. It was degraded all the way down to like 89. And now they got organizations like the OTA and the CTA and the Trucking HR and all that sort of deal that sits there and drives to a whole different ballgame and is trying to bring it up from the gutter and put it back up where it belongs. That's a hell of a chore. It really is. I mean, they got a lot of work for them. And as long as they stay in the 2D graphic, 2D model, they're not going to get anywhere. Okay, they're only just going to, like I say, it's like that circle on our seal. It is a circle. That's like the Earth, right? So it goes around in a circle, and so you follow it around, and you go in, you'll hit the same mark each and every single time. Each and every single time. So what I developed was the Helix Progression Standard, and what that is that you have a base, you have a core, you have pillars, you have what they call spirals, and it goes up to a master level. All right, and you got your scoring in between there. That's how that is. But the way we're looking at going up to the TTSAO here in Ontario, that's who we want to be associated with or partner with. And what we want to try to do is create a new kind of a minute by minute, pen to paper kind of record of each individual driver. That is how the system is going to work. All right. There is no other way around it. You can go that 2D route all you want, but all you're going to do is constantly like hit that right there is a brick wall. Okay. See, you don't want to do that. You want to spiral up and up and up and up and up and up. And then the spiral actually gets stronger as you go along. So I have AI with me right now, and I will ask it questions, and hopefully you can hear it. And some of the stuff that I asked it this morning, okay, was can it actually be up to date and can it give me the information that I request? All right. So, I mean, this is probably not makes no sense at all, but the whole idea is that the guys that are out there right now, who are out there trucking, all right, the guys who are veterans who have been in the industry a minimum of 10 years, all right, we actually then we start looking at you as being a little more compliant, a little more competent, a little more confident on driving a truck. It's just how it goes. Um, Certain groups like to think that 5 years is good enough, but you know what? You're talking to somebody who's been in the industry for 50, and I'll tell you that 5 years is nothing more than another. Uh, Really, it's you're still learning. You're still going through the processes. You're still pushing the barriers, the limits, pulling around the corner. A little quicker than maybe normal. Realizing that that pendulum swings in and out and goes across left, right, and center. I'll put a picture of it where I'm talking about. When I edit this process. So I basically what happens is I developed the Helix progression standard because I wanted the trucking industry to number two things. Most importantly, right now, two things: drivers incorporated and licensing bills. Okay, get rid of them. They are illegal and they are stupid. Okay, and we're not sitting there coming up to any type of these schools. If they give the licensing bills, you know what? Fine. If you can show some form of understanding. Mr. Kim Richardson recently did a little speech on in the CCMTA, which I can't remember what their name is, but his line of thinking was that like, the drunk driving community needs drivers, and if they actually got their act together and helped the situation out, we would be a whole lot better place. I mean, people are leaving because companies are cheating their drivers with garbage commodities, is what we call it. They're not looking at the drivers who's a veteran, who have been driving for 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 plus years. Okay, veteran drivers, man, you got to respect those guys. They're the ones that don't get into accidents. They get the job done. They get home to their family. They're sacrificing their life so that you and I can have a roof over our head, food in our stomach, these little headphones, these glasses, these clothes, my little ICD, IDC, all these things. These are all medical stuff that is brought in by a truck. Fuel, food, you name it. It's all brought in by a truck. And when you get guys that know what they're doing, man, oh man, they are absolutely needed and they are highly respected. And trust me, I have been in the industry for 50 years, and I think of those guys as the reason this country even lives, survives, is because they give you what you need every single day. All right. So respect to every last one of you guys that are out there trying to make a living. And it's a hard business. Not everybody can do it, but thank you for all the time that you've done. It's a thankless job, and it's an unfortunate thing that that's the way it is. So we're going to say thank you to you. All right. And for those guys that are new and just trying to get into the industry, this here, okay, this Helix is a way of being able to get you from zero experience into something. And then you can go from something into something else. Don't just take the first company that turns around and gives you an opportunity, because I guarantee you They're a garbage company, and they're going to give you a hard time. All right, and you're going to walk away, and that's what we don't want. All right. The Helix progression, what we do is we grade you from 1 to 5, and then 1 and 2 is guaranteed you're going to be there. Some of you might get a 3, and so on down the line. Some of you get a 4. Certain little things that you get. Okay. 5 is a master. Okay. 3 is the basic minimum. That is where melt applies. Okay. That is where it's a pass, but that's your weakest link. That is where we would turn around and say to the school, this is what you need to do with this driver. This is the point of where he needs to learn this particular part, and he makes it happen. Okay, so that's the whole idea behind that. There's our headquarters right now are here in Ontario. Okay, we're 1248. Excuse me, and this is our corridor, and they're building the east side now. The west side's done quite a bit, so a lot of building is going on this end. And there's a lot of stupid drivers that are out there that are causing problems. I mean, I've watched the industry grow, and I've watched it get dumber as we go along, And the license mills and all that sort of deal, they're the reasons. They're the reasons. When the accident rate goes up and people start dying, there's a reason for it. And if you get guys who are experienced, like the veterans, these are the guys. Don't be afraid to talk to them, okay? Talk to them. They know what you want to learn, okay? That's what they're there for. If they got a few seconds of their time, sit there and say, excuse me, can I have a word with you? And they'll say, what? Sure, what? They're pretty good. They're excellent bits of information that you could learn off of. And that's why this Helix is such a big deal. It is the next standard. It brings the trucking industry. How do you want to explain? How do you explain a 2D, 3D concept? Okay. A 2D is like a railroad track. All right. It goes around the earth, like I say, it goes around the earth, and it starts over. So any mistakes you made, you're going to run into them, and you're going to continue to run into them all the time. You switch off, and you have a new innovation. You put it back on a main line. You have another new innovation. You put it back on a main line. Eventually, what happens is you get pretty crowded. It breaks, you fix it, and all that sort of deal. The Helix has 26 benchmarks. There are 26 benchmarks that I created, that I put down, and each one of them has a specific task associated to them. Each one has like a little square or a little round area. That is experience. And then you have an X experience. Then you have an X experience. It goes all the way around. So you wind up into a spiral, all right? And you get stronger and more intellectual on the product. And you go up into the master category. So that's it here. So you have the baseline. Let's put this here as a baseline. You have a core. You have pillars, which should be 4 or 5 standing pillars. So it's really, really stable. Can it break? Sure. Anything is never 100%. It's like 99.9% unbreakable. And what it does is that it's set up so that if you come into an OE, and don't be afraid to sit there and talk to your teacher about, I don't quite understand this blindsiding stuff, or getting into a tight area, or 90, or, what happens if the air goes down to 55 psi? I remember years and years ago when you were fortunate enough to get a trailer that had good braking system and air system, and you'd hook up and it'd stay there. Other times, majority of the trailers, you put your fifth wheel underneath it, that trailer went off and it slid off, and it went for a little ride for a little bit. They had the round wheels on them, and they were only about 40 foot. I remember when they went to 42 and 45 and 48 and 53, and now they're tipping 60, 63. So it isn't what you're doing, you have to learn how to put that together. You're the one that has to learn how to take it 1 foot up for every 10 feet of truck, you know. So if you're 7 or 8 feet from a curb, that's you're trying to make a big turn. You need some space, and you know the helix is there to teach you about looking down your convex mirror to make sure that nobody's at your side. Because I guarantee you, okay, if somebody's at your side and you make the corner and you hit them, you're responsible. It's just, it's not a stupid law. It's just, it forces you to sit there and look in your convex to make sure that nothing is in your blind spots. Okay, so that's the idea behind the helix. Is that that spiral allows you to crawl up and get stronger. So you go from your base minimum, and 3 is your melt minimum, up to a master. And these guys that are 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 50 years, they're masters. They're masters. They're the ones. Now you can turn around and question, well, you know, how do you get a guy that lives in Ontario to drive mountains? Just go along 17 and you'll learn that real quick. All right. 17 is nowhere like the mountains, but you get a good idea. Okay. You can go down 6, 7 degrees. It's not long. It's not short. It's not like the mountains where they're 10 or 15 kilometers long. But if you go on 23, or sorry, if you go on 17 north, yeah, 11 and 17, eventually it converges over by Thunder Bay and it goes to the 1 and they drive out of the province. But the easiest road is it's about an hour difference between if you were taking 17 and then you were taking 11. 11 goes up and around, 17 goes this way, and then they converge, right? So there's about an hour's difference between each, but 17 is more treacherous. All right. We talked about Bill 96 or 93 and my HPS 26, which is the Helix Progression Standard. All right. 26 is the year it was formed and the 26 benchmarks that goes with it. That's what that 26 stands for. It's also kind of ironic that my BN numbers expires on the 26th of May. So it's not fun to you, but it is to me. Okay, as of April 6, 2026, Bill 93, the Truck Driver Training Schools Accountability Act is moving through the Ontario legislature. It passed its first reading on March 23rd. It just passed the second one as of, that might have been when it was into the second right now. So my Helix Progression Standard, HP26, and it is trademarked, all right, just so that you know, it directly solves the biggest headaches the bill and the new MTO mandates are creating for the industry. What I have created is, I can't believe it came out of here. It actually gets rid of. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Stephen James. I am the owner of this company here, which is Canadian Skilled Truckers. I was going to say Alliance, but it's accreditation is what we're going to do. I put a video together to timestamp everything to let you know that we are in existence. We are here. We are filling a niche that's missing, and that's for the truck driver. We are also dealing with transport companies and with training centers and so on. And that's the idea. Okay, trucks are evolving. Drivers, they need to do the same thing, and everybody else needs to follow. This industry it needs to go from 2D to 3D. All right, and that's what the video was that we just did.
and that's how we want to explain it. And we're leading the way. I want to take a few moments just to say thank you again to the drivers, the veteran drivers that are out there, the new guys that are halfway through their careers. Welcome as well to the industry. I hope everything is going well, and know that the weathers are still changing. So just drive the conditions and drive your best you can. That's all you can do, right? Like we say, everything we got right here is all is the beginning. Um, and I'm using what tools I have available to get this thing started and get our planted. In the meantime, like I say, we're going to be working with uh, organizations like the TTSAO so we can get drivers to not just flip a license, but to learn, master the machine, audit themselves, audit their own performances. The schools have to do an audit and the companies have to do an audit, and that's what we're there for. We're here to help them out, but we're mostly here for you, the truck driver. Okay, whether you like it or not, it's completely up to you. We are a for-profit organization. Um, it has to be that way because we don't follow the other groups. We will work with them, but they need to catch up. Okay, for as long as they are on a 2D model, they're never going to get anywhere. Okay, that's Alberta, that's BC, that's Nova Scotia, that's Ontario trucking. That's all those things. Trucks are evolving themselves. Okay, that's why they've gone from manual to automatics. And to be honest with you, I mean, yeah, I know there's a lot of guys out there that don't see automatics say the way I do or something like that. But that's par for the course. It's how it goes. We need your talent and all that sort of deal. Um, by following what we're doing right now, we're getting rid of Drivers Inc. and we're getting rid of the license mills. Okay, they are only on borrowed time, and as soon as the government can flick on to here and go from the 2D to the 3D, then all the better. This industry will be better off. Okay, period. That's just it's just how it is. There's everything needs to change. Everything needs to we need to come out of the old and go into the new, and that's what this little picture sort of shows. I'll put it up here in a second as soon as I get onto DaVinci Resolve and I get it all done. So that was a little cue for myself. So anyway, welcome to Canadian Skilled Truckers Accreditation. Okay, CSTA 2025. And our product is the HPS 26A, and there's HPS 26D. And now we're looking at which is called a HPS 26S. And I'll leave that one for you to figure what that one is. All right. I'll bring that up sooner or later at some point in time. Okay, so we're gonna do a little bits of videos for those people in there that want to get into truck driving and they're not sure just how to do it. That's what we're here for. We're here to help you figure it out. The guys that are out there driving right now, the guys that are veterans that have been in the business for, gosh, since Poncho was a test pilot. Thank you for what you do. I appreciate what you do, and being a driver myself, I was taken out by a heart attack. I don't know whether you could see or not, but there's I got one of these. I don't know whether you can see it or not, but anyway, I have what they call an ICD sitting right there. IDC, which is like a poof thing for my heart. And I had a heart attack a widowmaker heart attack in December 2024, and I effectively lost my license this year in 2026. So it's a 50-year career. That there is my my proof in the pudding. I mean, you can see it's got A on there. All right. The MTO is, because my heart is only pumping at 20 above stop. I got my little dog right with it. He's kind of helped me out quite a bit, so my heart has actually improved to 25%. But I need a minimum of 30% working before I can get back into driving. And being 67 and going to turn it into 68 in another couple of weeks, nobody wants to take me on, so that's why I developed this company right here. All right. I still want to. It's like that old saying: you can take the truck driver from the truck, but you can never take the truck from the truck driver. Okay, and that applies to a lot of places. That's for darn sure. But that's what I see, and that's what I've been going at. And you know, enough is enough with all this BS that's going on. There are guys that are out there, and we're going to try to get you on here. I mean, if you can. I mean, we're going to try and put a podcast together and bring drivers on and let them tell you exactly what's going on. There are concerns. There's a whole bunch of stuff that we need to do. Like we're going to try to get in contact with Ontario Route, and they got a great idea and it works well, but it could still use a little tweaking. And then 17 and 11, I mean, treacherous areas, they can be. They can be just as dangerous as the mountains. Okay, and for those that are turning around now and yelling and screaming, hey, there's no difference between. Well, trust me, man. If you haven't been on 17 before, you don't have a clue. You're not as long as the mountains, but you're just as steep in certain areas for a certain amount of time. So, and then you got Quebec mountains, and so there's a range of problems across this country, a big old country, Canada of ours. I love her. She's such a beautiful country. But anyway, we need to fill a niche that's missing, and that's what this is. All right, Canadian Skilled Truckers Accreditation. That red seal is one issue. We want it, we need it, but we can actually fire up our own program. And if we can get the provinces and other organizations within the trucking industry to follow us, okay, we can make that happen. And then eventually the government will catch up to us and we'd be all the better. And then we could do the red seal